I never know what category. There's not really a good category for whatever the hell I'm doing. So I just picked kind of the closest thing. All right. Hey.
Hey.
What's up?
How are
Welcome
you?
to week 3 of this. Well, this is your first week, but I've been doing this nonsense for 3 weeks now.
I've been watching. It's been very impressive.
Thank you. You're in the studio right now. We've got
feel
cameras.
privileged everywhere.
We're upping our game every week on the production design or whatever. So hey, welcome. So this is Michelle, everybody. You
Hello.
probably know her if you're watching the stream, because otherwise I don't know why you were watching the stream. I'm Chris, of course. I am going to learn something new every week, and this week we are doing
Crochet.
all right. So before we get started, I'll say what I know about crochet,
Okay.
and then you can tell me why I'm wrong,
Okay.
or like what you know and why you're here to show me. So like, I don't actually know the difference between crochet and any other kind of fiber art. I think that it uses yarn.
It does.
I understand that I'm probably going to be terrible at it because it requires a level of finger dexterity that I don't think I have.
We'll see.
I assume it's from like someone's grandmother, because that's probably the history of it. It was very bored. But that's about it. That's all I
Okay.
know.
I mean, it is a very old. People used it to make clothes. If you recall, we saw
Okay.
that woman at Renegade that
That's
had
true.
her entire outfit made of crochet.
Yes.
Not something I would do or recommend,
Okay.
but that,
It's a popular look. I think that's hip
it's
now.
a look. It's a look.
Okay.
But that is not what I use it for. Although I have made, I got my start making scarves. I've made beanies, but that is as far as I've gone with wearable items.
Okay.
I tend now to do more blankets for friends that are having kids, just because they're smaller,
Okay.
or little animals. But yeah, I got my start. I learned the first time when I was in elementary school. My science teacher had a little crochet club.
Okay.
So when I was in 4th grade, we would sit on the edge of the playground during lunch and learn, but I didn't stick with it. And then when I was in high school, my mom worked at my high school, and somebody that she worked with knew how to crochet and taught me. And so I was practicing when I was waiting for my mom after school.
Okay.
Until this dad was waiting for a meeting with the assistant principal and asked me what I was doing. I was like, oh, you'll make a really great housewife one day.
Ooh.
And at the time I wanted to go to med school, and I was going to specialize in sports medicine, but I didn't want him to know. I was like, oh, well, I'm actually planning on going to med school, so it's really going to help my dexterity for surgery.
Okay.
And then he had nothing to say about that and his stoner son that he was about to meet about.
Yeah, so this is, what you're hitting on is that this is traditionally, I guess, a female thing that is for some reason associated with homemakers. But I've been hearing a lot more about men getting into fiber arts. Seems like it's fun. Why don't we try it?
Yeah. So,
I don't know.
why not? Like I said, there's, we are bridging gender stereotypes in all sorts of ways.
I wore female pants to begin this.
Right.
This
I was
series,
surprised you didn't
so-
have the pants on today, because I feel like Sina had a really great idea on that.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't have any. I don't own anything that's crocheted, so I didn't have an appropriate outfit. But maybe we can figure something out by the end of the stream.
Indeed.
Maybe we can make a hat.
That's
Well, you're gonna tell me about what.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So I did a little bit of research,
Okay.
literally right before you got here, to try and figure out what might we make. So
Okay.
here's a few examples of things that we could make. So these are some kind of shitty gloves, like they've forgotten the fingers.
okay.
But I think that's intentional. I don't know. So there's half gloves.
Yeah.
There's this hat, bucket hat. That,
I feel like Molly would enjoy that.
Yeah, but this looks kind of professionally made or something. But apparently it's crocheted. There's this. I think it's a deer wallet. There's a zipper involved.
Oh.
Actually, I don't even know if this is crochet. That looks like beads. Okay. That's not even, I don't think that's possible. There's this human, I think this is Amelia Earhart, so, you know, we could make that, I guess. And then if we build up to it, we can do what this person did, which is just make someone from their neighborhood in yarn.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so this is actually kind of why I want to learn crocheting, because if I can build up to this, if I get really into it, and I can build up to this level where I'm just making people I know out of yarn. Like this guy, he has a book. He's reading a book out of yarn. So, so that's just some, you know, some inspiration for us to think about.
Okay.
How close are we gonna get to making a person out of yarn?
A life-size person out of yarn.
Yeah, life-size.
I would say we will get the foundational skills to be able to do that.
Okay.
Because the basis of crochet is only a few different stitches.
Okay.
So we can learn those stitches, and then it's just applying them to a 5 or 6 foot
human
size capacity.
Do you think that was knitted over something? Like, do you think there was a base, or is that all yarn?
My guess is it is all yarn on the outside and then stuffed with something.
Okay, all right.
Similar to that Amelia Earhart piece. Because I mean, I guess you could like crochet or knit a like flat thing and wrap it around a hard surface, but I feel like that's cheating.
Okay.
So my guess is they stuffed it with like polyfiber, like pillow material.
Okay.
So.
All right.
But I don't know.
See,
we can
we're
research.
already learning
we'll
something.
see how
we're
far
already
we can
learning
get.
how nuts it is to use yarn to build stuff. Okay, so what do we start with here?
So we have a couple of options, depending on how productive you want to feel at the end of this.
We should, based on past history of this, we should start with whatever the easiest thing is.
Okay. So we could like just use a regular skein or skein of yarn.
Skein?
Skein. However you want to say it.
Why are there two ways?
There are two ends or two ways to
Why are there two ways to say it?
Oh, I have no idea. I just don't know if I'm saying it right or not.
Okay, all right.
Every time I talk to somebody, I hear something different. So where we just teach you the stitches, and then maybe by the end of it, you get like a pot holder.
Okay.
Kind of situation. Or we could do a little animal that you can then continue to work on. We would not finish this.
Okay.
But
we get the basics.
We get the bases. The Woobles is a company that was created by like some lady on Instagram who wanted to make crochet more accessible.
Okay.
Right?
For beginners.
For beginners.
Perfect.
So she kind of created these kits where it has like everything you need, kind of like HelloFresh style, where it's like the exact amount of things that you need for each color to make these little animals. And it's called like, there's a Japanese word for, it's like amagurumi or something like that. We can Google that later and see how wrong I got it. Or these little animals.
Okay.
So there are step-by-step videos that you could then complete, and a really little adorable turtle for your, nephews or nieces.
Yeah,
or
no,
whatever.
this is actually, I think this is perfect.
Okay.
Number one, because it says for beginners, and that's all I'm dealing with. Will I be, and number two, because I have a nephew that might be interested. He might be maybe too old, but I have a new niece coming, so this is another reason to learn to build stuff, because that would be fun.
Little
to share with them.
animals.
All right, so are we gonna miss out on anything if we do this? Because it feels kind of like a cheat in a way.
It's not a cheat because
I still have to learn.
You still have to learn like the basic stitches and all that kind of stuff, and it goes step by step, which is what I would be like walking you through, and I can sit here and like explain the video, and like we can do it together. I've already made this like little dinosaur guy. Okay. But there were some extras, so I can like use the dinosaur materials to kind of go step by step with you doing the turtle.
All right.
It's just like extra yarn so that I can
All
step by step with you.
Now I feel like I'm doing an unboxing video. Though.
It's really exciting.
Should we open this thing?
Yeah. I should have brought my completed dinosaur if I had thought that through.
Okay, well you can, we'll do a follow-up.
Yes.
Link in the show
Bring
notes
all my
or
animals.
something.
They're Harry Potter ones that the Woobles make.
Okay.
So.
All right, so we got some yarn. This is very like tight. Like I've seen looser yarn.
Yeah, so this is like that's like a softer yarn, better for beginners compared to like this type of yarn is a little bit it's made with a different material. Okay. So there's different types of yarn. This is like great yarn for scarves and the hand warmers, those kinds of things. Okay. There's this yarn that is much thinner and softer for like baby blankets, that kind of stuff. And then this is like what that she created based on the like ease of use for beginners. Okay,
so we've got two things of yarn, skeins.
Yeah.
Scones.
Sure.
Scones. We've got what looks like the stuffing. Okay. Bag of stuffing. I assume there's some tools in here. Wait, hold on. What's this? This is the instructions inside. Instructions inside. All right. We'll pop that open. Oh, okay. There's a QR code. We'll do that in a second.
It'll take us to the video. So it also came with the kit I bought. That it had came with a little container. So we're gonna add all of those so we don't lose them into the wee wobbly bits or woobly bits.
These are like the eye pieces and stuff, right? And then there's a needle and another piece of thread in here. Yes. Of yarn.
So needle can go in here.
We don't need that?
Not yet. So that is going to be to like tie off and like weave your ends in back through to your project so that it doesn't unravel. Okay. The black yarn is for especially if you're going to give it to a baby and you don't want these hard plastic eyes, you can weave the eyes in so that they're fabric or yarn and not hard plastic for an infant. But if Emerson wanted it and he's old enough now that like he's not going to like injure himself on this, then that is so. But we're not there yet.
All right, cool. Well,
and the last piece.
And then this is, I assume, the tool we will be using.
So it is called a crochet hook. Okay. And just for if you're interested in backstory, there are various different sizes of hooks. Okay. That. There we go. Okay. That are different depths. Okay. That would control how big or small or how loose and tight your crochet stitches are. So that one is like,
look at this, like
huge, right? So that's gonna be for like larger blankets, that type of
bigger yarn,
bigger
surface area,
exactly. More space in between each stitch, if you will. Cool. So they have made, these are what you would typically see like somebody crocheting like a from scratch piece of work. It would look very similar to that, which is different than knitting, which has two pieces, but they are pointy at the end. They do not have a hook.
Knitting, they're like needles, right? Okay, I did know that. So we're working with a hook and not a needle.
Correct. And the Wooble lady made them user-friendly to have a little bit more grip to them.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. All right, so we should pull up this QR code thing that we got here. Let me, I don't know if I was ready for that. Let's see what we can do here. All right, so we've got this here, and I need to put in thewoobles.com/start.
If you get into it, the world is your oyster with these different characters.
Yeah, I mean, this seems cool. Oh wow, you've got like branded stuff too. Is this coming through? Yeah. Okay, cool. I don't need cookies. All right, so we need to find our guy.
There he
Emilio
is.
the turtle. These are really cute.
Mm-hmm.
These are really good. These seem like they'd be perfect little gifts for babies. Okay, to start Woobling, type in the password. Okay, hold on. I'm not gonna stream the password. I know enough about streaming to know that's probably a bad idea. Okay, 1 second. Everyone type in the password. Okay.
Yeah, I think this lady like works in tech, so let's not have her sue us for streaming the whole password.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're in. We're through the secret part of the mission. Okay, so we've got an instruction list here that has So we've got the basics, the head, the body, the legs, and so. So this is gonna teach us how to even hold stuff, right?
Correct.
Okay.
With this kit, you're going to learn how to crochet and in the process, make a cute little plushie. This guy's name is Emilio the Turtle, and we'll begin
Why did it stop when I tabbed away?
by making his head, starting with the pre-started piece in your kit. And then you'll learn how to make his body, feet, tail, and how to attach all these pieces.
All right, so we'll probably get to like maybe part of the head today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I don't want to this is probably what 3 or 4 hour activity.
Yeah.
And
in small chunks, like that's how I typically like to crochet. And even when I'm doing things where I'm just like making something, it's a fun while I'm doing watching TV or
watching, for example, Bodkin on Netflix.
Exactly. I literally was just doing that last week.
Nice.
But yeah, so smaller chunks. But yes, we'll probably get the foundational skills.
With this kit,
wait. Okay, sorry.
No.
I didn't
We'll
mean to cut
learn.
you off.
No, we'll do the foundational skills and then we'll take a break.
Okay. So here's our...
With any Woobles kit, you're going to be doing more than just pass the time. You're going to be learning a new skill. So if this is your first time crocheting, that means you're probably going to make mistakes, and that is totally okay. If you run into trouble, just tap on the help icon at the bottom of the screen to find videos to help you troubleshoot common issues. Or simply pull on the yarn connected to the yarn ball so that you get reset back to your pre-started piece so you can start anew. And with that, remember to have fun and let's get woobling.
It was basically, she was just saying that that's the great part about yarn is you can pull it out if you make a mistake and then get back to the start. And they make it easy because they have a little magic loop already made for you.
All right, I'm gonna try and do a thing here where we've got, I wasn't set up for this. We've got these zoom in things so that you can see what I'm doing with my hand and what Michelle's doing with her hands. Looks really weird, but kind of cool. So we'll see how that goes.
It does fit almost perfectly, depending on where you're sitting.
I know the production value, guys. The production value. I keep telling you, it's getting higher. All right, but I'm gonna try and bring this video in. I just don't know where it's gonna go on here. So let's see. We'll try and put it small and in the middle and between us, and we'll see what happens. I could probably crop it. Whatever. All right. You get what you get.
Indeed.
The production value has gone off the rails. All right. So this should be the start.
I'm going to be demoing most of these videos using blue yarn. You have the same type of yarn in your kit, so you should be able to follow along. You might just need to use a different color depending on which Wooble you have. Take the big yarn ball out of your kit and look in the middle of it. There should be a piece that looks like it's already been crocheted and has some plastic things on it. Leave the plastic things in the piece intact. You're going to pull that yarn out. And if that yarn's actually coming from the outside of your ball and this label is getting in the way, feel free to take the label out. You don't actually need it to keep this ball together. All right. So what we are going to do is wrap this yarn around our left hand. So take your left palm, face it to you. Hold the piece in front of your palm and watch the yarn that's connected to the yarn ball. You're going to wrap that once around your pinky. So now the piece is behind your fingers, and then bring the yarn over your index finger and then hold onto the piece with your thumb and your middle finger. And you want to try to keep the yarn draped on your index finger towards the back third of your finger, close to your knuckle. That way, when you're crocheting, the yarn won't easily slip off of your finger.
That is very good instruction. Thank you, Eddie. I know how to hold it now.
There you go.
By the way, for everybody at home, let's do a quick shot of our Kate reaction cam, because Kate is here, kind of watching this from somewhere. All right, so if you hear random snickering in the background mocking us, that's my wife. All right. Okay, so back to the video. All right, so I'm holding it. That's step 1 of 4. Am I doing it right?
So, yes. So honestly, I don't do this piece because I personally, like, over the years felt like it was restricting my tension more than like supporting it.
Okay.
So I tend to just do this and hold it like on my camera. I hold it with my middle finger and my thumb, and then my 2 like ring finger and pinky, I hold the yarn so I can control the tension of it a little bit better.
Okay.
So I do it this way more than what she was suggesting, but
okay. Well,
either way.
I'm gonna try her way.
Yes.
And we'll see where we end up. I already felt like I wanted to do this naturally, so I might get there. I might get to your way pretty quickly, but let's start with her way.
Yeah.
In part because I'm worried she'll like tell me to do something else with my fingers and I won't know what to do.
That's
all right. Let's
a
move.
valid concern.
Now that you have the yarn draped on your hand, you want to make sure that you're holding your piece in the correct orientation. If you think of this piece like a coin, there is the concept of a head versus tail and an up and down. So you want to have this little loop in the upper right-hand corner and then the orange stitch marker immediately to its left. And then the green stitch markers are to the left of that. You also want to move this cutoff piece of yarn in case it's in front of your piece. You want to move it to the back, under and behind the yarn that is draped on your finger.
Okay. I think she wanted it this way. That is what it looks like she's doing right now.
Correct. I was going to try to make myself a magic loop real fast, but that's okay.
What's a magic loop?
That's this piece right here.
This piece. Okay.
It's pre-made for you.
Nice. So you normally, if you were starting, you would start by making that. That's a skill you would have to learn if you weren't doing a Wooble.
Correct.
Okay. And is that difficult? Like, would I have a hard time with that?
No. Once you know the stitches, it's not, like I said, I typically do like blankets or straight things, not rounded objects. So I would just need to like look up the instructions. But once you learn the basic stitches, you would be able to recreate it.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
So you want to. This is going to be where you crochet from. Yes.
Okay, from this little spot right here. Okay. All right. So I guess that's what's up next, I assume then. Let's see.
The reason why we're in this awkward position is because we want to control the tension between your index finger and the piece. Having an even tension is going to make your stitches look even. It's going to make it easy for you to crochet. So if it's feeling like it's too loose, like there's too much slack, just move your index finger away from you to make it tighter. And if it feels too tight, just move your finger closer. And if it's like super loose and even pulling your finger away doesn't help, just keep pulling on the yarn connected to the yarn ball until everything tightens up.
Okay. I think I understood that. That wasn't really an instruction so much as information.
Correct.
But that's fine. Okay. So like I'm going to do something with this little guy right here, right?
The loop. Yep.
All right. Hopefully that's the next one.
Last step to get into crocheting position, pick up your hook and stick it into the little loop from the right to the left or from the bottom up, depending on how your loop is currently positioned. Now you're in crocheting position.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
We're going to learn how to make what's called a single crochet stitch. This is the basic stitch in crochet, and it's what most of your plushie is made of. So you've got your hook in this little loop, and the first thing you need to do is figure out what hole to put the hook into. Luckily, we have these plastic things to help.
Okay.
You want to put your hook in exactly the same hole as this orange stitch marker. If you were to look at the rim of your piece, you would see that the orange stitch marker is under 2 strands of yarn that kind of look like a horizontal V. So you want to put your hook in the hole directly below that horizontal V. in the hole that is marked by this orange stitch marker.
Correct.
Okay.
Look at
All right.
already rocking
I
it.
think I've done it.
Yep. You have indeed.
All right.
So it's these two pieces here that you were putting the hook under.
Got it. Okay.
So pull the orange stitch marker all the way off to the left so it's out of your way.
Already
Pull it
did.
off.
And then put your hook immediately to the right of that so that the hook is under those 2 strands of yarn that look like a horizontal V. So now it should look like there's 3 strands of yarn on your hook.
Okay.
You want to make sure the tip of the hook is facing you and the hook is in front of the working yarn.
Okay.
All correct. See, you're already crushing it.
Now we're going to do what's called a yarn over. We're going to bring the hook down and under the working yarn and then put it behind the working yarn.
Okay.
The goal is to grab the yarn with the tip of your hook. So you'll need to make sure that the tip of your hook is still facing you. And when you're doing that motion, try to only move your hook hand. Resist the urge to use your yarn hand to pull the yarn onto the hook.
Which you didn't. That was correct.
Nice.
Next, you're going to pull the hook through the hole that the hook just went into. So just those first 2 loops on the hook.
Not through the
And it's
hole.
really common when you're first learning how to crochet to get your hook snagged in the yarn. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to do this. So first, you want to pull the piece in the hook in opposite directions to artificially make the hole that the hook needs to go through a little bigger. Then you want to rotate the tip of your hook from facing you to facing where you should have 2 loops on your hook now,
Yeah.
which means that you're halfway through the stitch that's called the single crochet stitch. Let's pause and make sure that these loops are a good size so that it'll be easy for you to finish this stitch.
Wiggle them in.
So tilt your piece so that you're looking at the hook head on. And if you left the tip of the hook facing you, you actually want to rotate the tip of the hook down to face the piece again. Because what I want to show you is that we want to make this loop that's on the hook, this new loop, be basically the same size as the tip of the hook. That way we know it'll be easy for the hook to go in and out of that loop. So if that loop is too tight, too small, all you got to do is pull the hook away from you. And then if that loop is too big, just pull on the yarn connected to the yarn ball to make it smaller.
Turn it back towards me.
Turn the whole piece
Turn
towards
the
you.
whole
Your
thing
hands
towards me.
like
Okay,
this.
yeah.
Rotate your hands
Rotate my hands.
so that you can see these hooks.
Yeah. Okay.
These loops are the same size as that
I
hook.
see what she's
So
saying.
you can show.
Okay. So that I don't know if I'm gonna get that straight on, but
That's close enough.
small enough that
Yeah.
it's big enough that you can get through, but small enough that
It's not going to be huge.
it's not a big. Because if it's too big, then what's gonna happen? It's gonna be loose. Or
It's going to be the stitch itself is going to be too large, and they won't be even, consistent rows.
Okay.
So they'll be like wonky, which means there's going to be gaps in the project.
Gotcha. So like my first one's probably gonna be somewhat wonky.
Yeah, it's going to be unique. One of a kind.
That's a good way to say it.
It'll be one of a kind.
All right, so we've checked that these loops are a good size, that they're basically the same size as the tip of the hook. We've got 2 loops on our hook and we are halfway through the single crochet stitch. To finish it, we're going to do another yarn over. So you have your hook in front of your working yarn, the tip of the hook facing you. Bring your hook down under that yarn and then behind it
It would get twisted.
so that you can grab onto the working yarn with the tip of your hook.
That's important to remember what kind of your orientation is. Right? All right. I gotcha, lady.
Now pull the piece and the hook in opposite directions to temporarily make the loops on your hook a little bit bigger so that it's easier for your hook to make it through these loops. Then rotate your hook from facing you to facing where the yarn meets the rest of the piece. And then pull this yarn through both loops on the hook. So move your hook parallel to your body. Don't wiggle it around. The moment you clear those 2 loops, rotate the hook to face you again.
Oh, now we're
Push the
in
hook off to the left so that this new loop is safely towards the base of your hook. And then pull the hook a little bit away from you so that the loop on the hook becomes a little bit bigger.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I think.
That is correct. That is
I
a
think I
single
got it.
crochet.
So this looks exactly like this spot where we started. Which
Correct.
Means that we just do it again. I
Did you
Exactly.
crochet?
I
He
crocheted.
crocheted.
I crocheted. You have a Stay in your camera spot. If you want to be on, you want to be on the screen.
I can't see the crocheting and be in my camera spot.
I know, but I mean, you're sitting in front of a computer. I'm live streaming this to the internet. There is a way you could see
But
it.
you're right there in my living room.
All right.
Okay.
See, I knew I was going to need a Kate reaction shot. I just didn't know where she was going to be at the time.
You never know where Kate's gonna be.
Okay. All right. So we're back in our
Starting position.
We've done exactly one crochet loop. Is that what you would call it?
Stitch.
Stitch.
A single crochet stitch.
We've done a single stitch. We're only on 7 of 8 though. So I'll do
Let's see
do
what.
this last video.
If you've only got one loop left on the hook, then congrats, you have finished the single crochet stitch, and you can move on to the next
already
video.
Celebrated, lady.
If you don't think you did that correctly, though, you can do 2 things.
I don't want to know.
Now we're going to make what's called an increase.
Okay. Are we ready for an increase stitch?
I think you're ready.
Okay. Oh, hang on. I'm getting messages somewhere. Oh, people are just loving it. People are loving the stream, Michelle.
Great.
We're doing
Crochet.
the Lord's
Fiber
work.
art.
Fiber art. Fiber art, indeed. Okay.
If anybody else wants to learn, hit us up.
Well, they're gonna learn by watching this video, obviously. This is what in the near future. This is how all humans will learn everything, through these videos
That's terrifying.
specifically. Not these ladies.
Nope, no.
Our video. Wait. Okay.
Press
we gotta
play.
play.
There you go.
Okay.
Stitch. To turn the single crochet stitch into an increase stitch, we're just going to do exactly what we did and do it in exactly the same hole. So we're going to make a second single crochet stitch in the same hole. Before we do that, let's just double check we're set up to be able to easily move our hook through the loop that's on it by tilting our piece so we can take a look at the loop relative to the size of the tip of the hook. Remember, we want this loop to be basically the same diameter as the tip of the hook.
Okay,
And if it isn't, either move.
Okay. So let me get my.
When you let go to yell at Kate.
Yeah. So we got all out of whack here.
That's why you should never yell at your
I
life.
didn't yell at you. All right, I'm sorry. Tighten it.
Correct.
Okay, and so now we're here again, and I want to be going. So last time we went in front of this guy.
Correct. When you're yarning
under
over.
some orange. Would it be here?
That is correct. Yeah, so to increase a stitch, it means that you're basically putting 2 stitches in one, right? So then the next row, it'll have double the number of stitches.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because if you wanted to just maintain this exact one, you would go 1 for 1 in each stitch and do a single crochet
So I would
in
have
each.
you mean moving on to like the green?
Correct.
And the next green.
But because you're wanting to grow this out,
yeah.
you're going to put 2 in each, and
Okay.
that means increasing the stitch.
I'm gonna so like we're gonna do 2 in orange.
Correct, and then
And
2
then
in
we're
green.
gonna do 2 in green. Okay. And that's called
Increasing the stitch.
Okay. All right. So I may have jumped ahead
You did, but that's
Okay,
okay. So
so-
we're gonna press play. You keep your hands
in position.
in
yeah.
position.
Go away from you or pull on the yarn connected to the yarn ball
You have already
to
done all
make it a
that.
good size.
Okay.
So you've got 1 loop on your hook, and to start this second single crochet stitch, you need to put your hook in exactly the same hole as the previous single crochet stitch went into.
Well,
That
you
hole
wanna
is the
show-
hole that is marked by the orange stitch marker. So pull that orange stitch marker off to the left so it's out of your way, and then stick the hook in the same hole immediately to the right of the orange stitch marker. And it should look like you've got 3 strands of yarn on your hook, because that hole was under 2 strands of yarn that looked like a horizontal V. You want to make sure the tip of your hook is facing you, and the hook is in front of the working yarn.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Now yarn over. That means bring your hook down, under, and behind the working yarn. Keep the tip of the hook facing you so that you can grab onto the yarn with the tip of your hook.
Okay. Okay.
Turn towards you.
Turn it towards me. Yep. And we're gonna pull, right?
We're gonna pull through the. Yep.
I'll let her tell me.
Now you're going to bring this yarn back through the hole that the hook just went into. So pull the piece and the hook in opposite directions to make that hook temporarily a little bigger.
And then I lost it.
Rotate the
So
hook from facing you to facing the
I just didn't
piece,
pull
Yeah.
it away.
and
There
then
you go.
pull the hook parallel to your body. And the moment you clear those 2 loops, rotate the hook to face you again, push it off to the left, and then pull the hook a little bit away from you so that the new loop is about the same size
Here's
as the
about
old
that
loop.
Size.
Mm-hmm.
Again, okay. Remember all this from before, and then we just do it again. Right?
You should have 2 loops on your hook now. And let's just check real quick that these loops are a good size by tilting the piece and taking a look at how the loop compares to the tip of the hook. You want the loop to be basically the same size as the tip of the hook. That's how you're going to make sure that all the V's that you make are roughly the same size.
Nice. Okay, I did it.
You did it.
She's still behind me. Okay.
The hook should be in front of the work. Now pull the hook and the piece away. If you only have 1 loop left on your hook.
Success, celebrate.
Oh, there was no.
Before we continue,
Okay, so we'll pause here.
Okay.
We've fully mastered, like, you know, expert level
Single crochet.
single crochet and increasing it by going through the same hole. So we basically just did the same maneuver twice through the same starting hole.
Stitch.
Stitch,
Yes.
excuse
Hole.
me. Yeah, stitch hole. I like the word hole. It's fun.
Who wouldn't?
All right, so my guess is she's going to tell us to go through this one now, the green one.
Yeah, so you're gonna move the stitch marker so that it's not in your way.
Move the orange one.
She's gonna teach you how to do that and where to put it so that you don't lose count. So the reason that they're there, one, to show you in these demonstrations, but also people use them to count their stitches
Okay,
through projects that are usually circular,
gotcha.
right? So that you don't lose count, because the thing about crocheting and knitting is the numbers need to be precise. Otherwise, you're gonna have rows or sections that are larger than others and it's not going to fit right. So you have to keep with the number of stitches that it says.
Gotcha.
So hence stitch markers, or what the little clothespins are called.
Gotcha. So you would use these stitch markers even if you weren't doing a Wooble. Or whatever.
Correct.
You'd have your own. You'd get, once you get your starting coin. What should you call it? A coin? What is it?
Magic loop
Magic loop.
or magic ring, depending on who you are.
Started. You would attach some stitch markers and you would
Correct.
You would go nuts. Okay.
Correct.
All right. So she's gonna tell us how to move the stitch marker. Let's do it.
we're going to pause for a bit to make sure that we wind up with a Wooble instead of a doily. So we're actually going to take our hook out of the piece, and before we do that, we're going to pull the hook away from the piece so that the loop on the hook becomes really big. That way you have some leeway in case you're clumsy like me and accidentally pull on the yarn connected to the yarn ball. You don't want to accidentally lose any of your work. And now you can take your hook out of your piece and you can let go of the yarn.
So that's also where you want to, if you're going to take a pause, you want to make it really large so that if you grab it, it doesn't pull your stitches out.
Gotcha. Because this moves pretty easily, by the way, for viewers at home. This piece is just like, it's like pulling a shoelace or something.
So if you were making a regular project without a magic loop, it would be called a slip stitch.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a slip knot where you're able to... I'm not used to being on the camera.
You're trying to show me.
So that it's able to move back and forth through, similar to a boating slip knot, where you can control how large the loop is.
Sweet. All right, and so that's if you're not starting with this little circle thing.
So there actually is a slip knot in the middle of this magic ring. They've just done it for you.
Okay. Cool.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
Okay.
All right. She wants us to do some more stuff. Let's see.
So you're going to want to get in the habit of always using a stitch marker to mark the first stitch at whatever round you're on. When you're crocheting in these spirals, you can't actually easily tell where one circle ends and one circle begins. That's part of what makes this look really good, but you as the crocheter could really easily get lost. That's why we use stitch markers to tell us where every circle or round begins. That way, if we ever make a mistake, we only ever have to go back to the stitch that's marked by the stitch marker.
This is another one. We just covered that.
So we need to move the orange stitch marker to mark the first V of round 2. Right now, it is in the first V of round 1. So how do we find the first V of round 2? First, let us flip the circle so that we're looking at the room. So you can think of it as turning the page of a book. And you've got the loop that was for your hook at the very top.
Yeah.
That loop traces back into a V.
Yeah.
That V is the second stitch that you made. The first V that you made is the V below that. It should be right above this horizontal line, which is actually a knot we made in your pre-started piece, so that in case you mess up and you want to start over again, you can just pull on the yarn and get right back to it. So the V that's right above that horizontal line is the one that you want to move the orange stitch marker under. So take a good look. Unclip the stitch marker like a safety pin, and then put that stitch marker under that second V, this one. So you want the stitch marker to go under only the 2 strands that represent this V. And it doesn't matter which way you put the stitch marker in, as long as it is under that V.
Okay. Stitch marker as going through the yarn.
The 2 loops that make the V, the 2
Yeah.
pieces.
No, I mean it's going like
Oh,
through
it's
the
fine.
yarn. Does it matter?
No.
Oh, okay. Ah. Okay, so like I can't seem to get it there. Ah. Okay. I feel like I'm putting it in the right spot. I just keep jabbing through the
Yarn itself
through
instead
yarn
of the hole.
itself. Instead of the hole. Seriously, this never happened to me before. Okay, I think I got it.
Okay. You
Am
want
I
me to
in
check?
the right spot? Yes.
Let's look. So here is that line, the horizontal piece that she mentions.
Okay.
So you are, because here's the first V and here
There's the second.
is the second.
Okay.
So you are correct.
All right, and I only stabbed like 3 pieces of yarn. Actually, I'm still through the yarn.
That's the
so
thing about yarn is that
it's
the needle,
forgiving.
it is very forgiving. It'll come back together. Okay, so
Okay.
get
So
you're
do
now-
I leave the green? Well, she
Leave
tell
the
us
greens,
what's going
correct.
on. Okay, hold on. Let me get this back in the right spot here. Gotta go around my fingers.
Before we get back into crocheting position, let's get oriented. We want the big loop for your hook to be in the upper right-hand corner. And since we moved the orange stitch marker, now the orange stitch marker should be to the right and under this loop for your hook.
Yeah, flip it around.
The green stitch markers, though, are still off to the left.
Under. Okay. Why under? Because before it was like on the other side.
right, because so you've
We've
made
finished that. So we're just marking that we finished that with the orange one or something?
so you're marking that now is going to be the first stitch of the second round.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So you moved it from the first stitch of the first round. You built on it. So now you've moved it over to the one you built on.
I see.
Because when you get back to that point, you know you finished round 1.
I see. So when we're doing, she is explaining that we're finishing each round. It's difficult to tell where that ends. Okay.
Exactly.
Got it.
So
Okay.
now you move the orange so that every time you come back across to the orange, you know you have finished a round.
All right. Sweet. Okay. So let's see what she has to say.
Before we get back into crocheting position, let's get oriented.
Right.
We want the big loop for your orange stitch marker should be up. Now put your hook in the loop. There is a right way and a wrong way to put it in. The way you tell is that when you pull on the yarn connected to the yarn ball, the yarn that moves should be the yarn that's closer to you, the one on top of the hook.
Yeah.
That way, your yarn won't be twisted. You want to pull it until the hook is almost right next to the piece. Remember, you want the loop on your hook to be about the same size as the tip of your hook, not this part, which is narrower.
Okay. I
Okay.
think we're
Ready?
right about in the right spot here.
Now you need to hold on to the yarn with your other hand. And this time I'm going to show you a tip, which is you want to start wrapping the yarn as close as possible to your piece. So up here instead of down here. because that way, if you pick up the yarn really close to the piece, then it's much easier to adjust the tension between your finger and your piece. I'm going to show you real quick how to get the yarn back on your hand. Take your left palm, face it to you. Hold the piece in front of your palm so that you can wrap the yarn that's connected to the yarn ball once around your pinky, starting from being in front of your palm and now winding up behind all of your fingers. Now you want to drape that yarn over your index finger and hold on to the piece with your thumb and your middle finger. Then if you have the yarn tail, the cutoff piece of yarn, just make sure it's somewhere behind your piece so it's out of the way.
Which is what we did earlier when I moved that one over there.
Gotcha. All right.
Because that's going to be what you use that needle for in the Wooble kit, to weave it in so that it doesn't
Finish.
correct.
Before moving on, let's just make sure that your piece is in the right direction. You want your hook to be in the upper right-hand corner. The orange stitch marker is now below it and on the right side of the circle. And the green stitch markers are still on the left side of the circle.
We're good, lady. I don't know what her name is. Lady?
We're going to make a second increase stitch together, and this time we're going to focus on learning how to figure out where to put the hook next. So taking a look at the yarn that's on your hook, that yarn traces back into 2 loops, 1 and 2. The first loop actually goes into a hole, this hole. That's the hole that you just finished making a stitch in. So you want to put your hook in the hole to the left of that, but not just any hole. You want to put it in the hole that is directly under the next horizontal V. So you probably have to tilt your piece a little bit to be able to see the rim and to be able to see that horizontal V. Hopefully the hole that you thought you needed to put your hook into matches up with the hole that this green stitch marker is in.
Nice. Matching the holes.
So now we're going to start the second increase stitch in round 2.
Okay. You put the
Make sure
hook
you
in,
still
so
have that loop on your hook. And next, yarn over. Remember, this means bringing the hook below and behind the yarn with the tip of the hook facing you. Then you're going to bring this yarn through just the first 2 strands of yarn on the hook. To do that, pull the piece and the hook away from each other
Excellent.
while you rotate the tip of the
Didn't even
hook.
need this lady.
You should now have 2 loops on your hook.
Exactly.
And that means that you're halfway done with the first single crochet stitch that makes up half of the increase stitch. So let's just take a look and make sure that the loop is roughly the same size as the tip of the hook to make sure we're going to be making nice and even stitches moving forward.
Okay, so now we're going to go under the same green guy.
Yeah.
So we've got, then we get our, I was trying to get them like 3 up there, but does it really matter?
No.
It's just for visualizing.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to go over that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm losing my my index. It's
Tension.
not- tension. There we go. Okay, so there's that.
Yep. Through the first 2.
I think
Yeah.
I got that.
Yarn over.
Yarn over. Okay, I'm a little too loose here. Make it a little more tension. And then yarn over again. And through both. Okay, let's string it. Wait, no.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
I saved it.
You did.
I saved it. All right, so
So hold the piece with your middle and thumb.
yes.
There you go. And then that is over here.
Yeah, I gotta work on my tensioning here. All right, so I've got that like that.
Oh, hold. You want this over here.
Oh, my
There you go.
green guy got in, my marker got in the way.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna go
Yep,
with both
yep.
because we're in the second part.
And you have done both single stitches in that, so you increase the stitch.
Nice. High five. Woo!
We're gonna
You've done 3 stitches?
4.
4.
4.
Look at
4
you.
total. Yes, 4 total.
How do you-
2 through the same sort of like space. Okay, I'm gonna make this big again because this is where we paused last time.
Mm-hmm.
We can skip ahead past this like,
few.
whole section.
If you
Put the look and say hole. pull the
Now,
yarn,
yep.
Yep. Did that.
You should-
did that.
pull the
yarn
loop.
over.
Should be one
If you-
loop.
Before we move on, let's just double check that we have the correct number of V's. We just finished our second increase stitch, and remember, because an increase stitch actually looks like 2 V's, we should have a total of 4 V's at this point. So turn your piece to look at the rim, so that we've got the stitch marked by the stitch marker, the orange one at the very bottom, and your hook at the very top.
There it is.
And we're going to count the number of V's starting from the one marked by the orange stitch marker. So here's the first V, second, third,
Holes and V's.
and fourth. Remember, you don't count the loop that's on your hook as a stitch. Great, I've got 4 V's so far, which means I'm good to go, and I can remove this first green stitch marker and put it aside because I don't need it anymore.
You don't need the green ones?
You don't need the green, just that one that you're working in.
Just
Leave the other
orange
one.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because you haven't
We
worked
don't-
in that second green one yet.
What, how come we needed the orange one, but not, the orange one's just to mark the next row,
Correct.
but we wouldn't need the green one?
The green ones are more for like the tutorial.
Okay.
The orange one is what like people consistently use to mark their.
Alright, so if you look at this with me, I've made like, there's like a bit of a hole here. Should I be concerned about that, or is that like by design?
So the one here in the middle
Yeah.
is always going to be there. This is because of the tension,
Okay.
right? And so those are the kind of
I could
unique
have-
qualities that are going to.
You're so kind not to say that I didn't,
I work with children.
I didn't do it.
You have unique quality.
Yes, thank
Everybody
you.
is special
Everybody's
in their own
special.
way.
Okay, so this is, so that's because I wasn't doing it tight enough. That's sort of a byproduct of some
Beginner.
my loosey goosey beginnerness.
Correct.
Okay, and just a little hole right there. So.
But this one up here will always exist because
That's just the
it's the slip knot.
slip knot starter. Okay. All right. So let's see what I think I kind of get it. My
Okay.
assumption is that we continue this till we get back around to the orange one.
Correct.
And then we do something else.
Correct.
So I don't know if we need to go all the way that far on video today. Okay, let's see what finish round 2.
So to finish round 2, we need to repeat what we've been doing in every remaining hole.
Just said that.
We need to put an increase stitch in every remaining hole, and there are 4 holes left. So by the time you're done with this round, you should have 12 V's along the rim, starting from the one marked by the orange stitch marker and ending with the stitch that's going to be coming out of the V right before you get back to the orange stitch marker.
Okay.
Some of you might have gotten the hang of it already, and in which case you can just blast right through this, but it is pretty common to accidentally put the hook in the wrong hole since you're just learning how to crochet,
It happens.
and then wind
Very
up with the
common.
wrong number of stitches at the end. So I'd recommend just following along for a little bit longer to make sure that you're putting your hook in the right place.
Unnecessary.
All right, so let's see here. I'm gonna hide that. Let's go back to. Well, I'll leave this up for a second so we can take a look at this. So I think I've got the basics.
Mm-hmm.
If these are the basics, then I've got them.
Yeah.
What else do I need to know
So
at this exact moment?
there will be, as you kind of go through, a couple of more like different types of stitches, and I haven't made the turtle before, so I don't know specifically, but if it's anything like the ones that I did have done, the dinosaur and the whale, she'll walk you through step by step. So there are other stitches, so like I was working on this just to kind of show and demonstrate. So this is what's called, there we go, a triple crochet.
Okay.
So there are single crochets, which is what you've been doing,
Okay.
double crochets, which just mean the height increases, and triple crochet,
Height in what way?
the height of each stitch. So do you see how this,
Sorry.
there's too many cameras,
Yeah.
from here to here is longer.
Yeah. So this was a single. Right here,
Exactly.
right? This length.
This is a triple. So for example, if I were to put a single crochet in this next chain, which is a different part that you didn't learn because that's part of the magic loop, is a chain is the foundation of every crochet piece.
Okay.
So if I were to do a single crochet, I'm going to go through the chain just like going through the stitch.
Okay.
Yarn over, pull through. I have 2.
Yeah.
Yarn over.
Okay.
So that
you
is a
just
single crochet.
That was a single. That's what we
Right.
did before, right?
That's what you've been doing.
Yeah.
If I wanted to do a double crochet, I yarn over before I put my hook through the project. So I yarn over so that there's 2.
Double loop on the right.
Exactly. And then I yarn over again after I've put my hook through.
Okay.
Pull through. So now I have 3 instead of 2.
Yep. And then you're gonna pull through all 3.
I'm going to pull through 2 at a time.
2. Okay.
So I pull through 2 here, yarn over again, and
To
then I pull
increase.
through. So then that is a double crochet.
Double crochet.
So I have triples here, single, double,
Okay.
right? So it's just about the height
The-
of each stitch,
Okay.
right? So if I'm trying to just like make a scarf and I want to bust it out really quick and I don't care that there's like, it also means that the gaps, the holes are a little bit larger.
Okay.
So if I like am okay with that because it's a scarf and I just want to like make the most bang for my buck, right? If I want each stitch to be as
Wide,
long
yeah.
as possible,
Long.
I'm going to do triple crochet so that each one, so then it grows more exponentially
Okay.
than if I was going to do tight single crochets up.
Okay.
So
Very cool.
that is
And
what
so
a
what's
straight
like what is
piece
the
looks like.
maximum you would do? Is there a maximum?
of
Because like I've seen like so we were at, you mentioned earlier, we were at a craft fair
Mm-hmm.
and we saw someone was selling dresses that had, but they were like pretty widely spaced
Mm-hmm.
gaps. Is that just the technique? Does it have to do with what you were talking about with triple or double? Like would you do like, is that just bigger loops? Like how do you make something like that?
Yeah, so triple crochet is the biggest that I have seen about like the number of loops that you put on.
Mm-hmm.
It also depends on, again, what we were talking about before with the different size hooks.
Okay.
Right? So the ones that had those big holes in between
Yeah.
are going to be one of these giant hooks that have a lot of, because the way that you're controlling the tension, right, by her hand, but then it's also by the size, the diameter of the hook.
Okay.
So this hook that I'm working with is a 5 millimeter diameter hook. This is a 4, I think.
Doesn't say. Oh, 4. Yeah.
And so there are ones that are even bigger than this, right? Like this one is a 9 millimeter. So it's gonna make the hole, like even because no matter how tight I pull this yarn,
It's always.
it's going to be larger, right?
Ah,
so
that
that's
makes
going to
sense.
make the
Right.
loops larger. Therefore, it's going to make the holes in between each stitch larger.
So the rabbit hole is deep here, like 'cause,
Correct.
like that's why you have a full set of different sizes to make different
Yeah.
shapes and coordination.
So on those blankets that I was telling you about before, right? So because I think that for several reasons. One, I think yarn itself starts to deteriorate, right? And it takes forever if you were going to make a baby blanket made entirely out of yarn. So what I like to do is I get a piece of fleece like this, and I just crochet around the edge so that
Okay.
it has that like pretty decorative edge but it also is like soft fleece for the baby. It's more enjoyable,
Yeah.
and it holds up longer, right? So I have friends, I think the first one that I made was for my nephew Scotland, who is about to graduate from high school
So-
next week. So he is 17 and a half.
Just a few years ago.
So he still has it, and it still holds because, again, it's just probably a couple of inches thick around the edge.
To
and
give
it's,
it some structure. or
right,
whatever.
exactly, and
make
it's,
it personalized for them.
exactly, and but it's still like a little bit softer, more cuddly than just straight yarn.
Yeah, yarn. I mean, this is not rough or anything, but
No.
it's not exactly what I would say would be like cuddly. It's not
Exactly.
a blanket, so.
So I
But I
tend
like
to
the
do
little
that.
characters too.
The characters
I think
are
that's-
fun.
That's a really neat way to start. Thank you for introducing me to
Emilio.
Emilio the turtle from the Woobles collection.
There you go.
Are you shilling for Wooble?
I guess I am. I mean, we've shilled for something almost every time. We anti-shilled Master Locks, I think, last time.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I did then go throw away like every lock I own.
Yeah.
So
That's the opposite
I
of that.
don't think that was what they intended.
All right.
But there you go.
Cool. All right. So I definitely learned something. I think I'm capable of doing this. Watching you do it there. First off, you did all of that in the time it took me to do this far, and you were actually describing the sizes, and you were still going. So like you were just kind of naturally making the stitches happen, which is pretty cool. That's inspiring and also terrifying, because it means that like to get to that level, I'd have to do years of it. But I
don't think you have to do years of it.
I think it seems like you get a rhythm. Even I felt like I was starting to get a rhythm as a total novice on this. So I think I'm gonna finish this design. I think that'll be fun to do. I don't know how long it'll take me. I'll report back, but it seems like something I can start to learn how to do and finish. Definitely seems like it's going to take me many hours. And so
once you get the hang of it, I think it'll go faster. Like, and even you were going faster than, like, she takes things so step by step, so slowly that like you'll eventually be able to click through,
skip some
which you were already doing, right? So there was like, she had 4 different steps of a video for one stitch, right? So you can do the stitch and then just skip through those. So I think once you get a little bit more comfortable, you'll start picking it up faster, so it won't actually take you quite as long. It'll take you a while, but I don't think it'll take you quite as long as like you might think.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like stuff to remember and keep in mind as I'm going, and tension on it was kind of interesting to get used to that. So I definitely feel I am capable of crocheting at a very basic level.
I
at
believe
a novice
in you.
level, and that is the goal. So I think with that,
Kate might have a scarf by the time I go home tonight.
we'll see.
Whoa.
By the time, I mean, you're like, I can't do one of these without like a lot of concentration, and you are just going. You've been just going as you're talking, so that's really cool. Thank you for sharing your expertise with me, Michelle.
Thank you for having me in your home studio.
This was a lot of fun. Yeah, well, today we set it up on the couches, and it turned out pretty well. So
It's been a great time.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully I'll keep doing these. It's been fun. So this is 3 down and an infinite number of new things to learn.
Do you need to tell anybody to like click below to subscribe?
Like, subscribe,
Right?
smash that, follow, like, whatever button. This is, I don't know.
No.
I'm not trying to make this
Sponsored by the
Sponsored by
Woobles.
Wooble. Yeah. Let's we should
Wooble
tweet,
lady, send us some
should
Woobles.
tweet them or something. All right. Thanks everybody. Have fun. See you next
Happy
time.
Monday.
Bye.